There you go, a bit of Santana for you to kick us off. You're listening to BBC Radio Bristol with Dr. Phil Hammond. It's 22 minutes to 10. Now, this month, more than 200 consultants signed a letter to NHS England saying they're deeply concerned by plans for a 7-day National Health Service. The letter, organised by the Junior Doctors Alliance, comes as separate research from the British Medical Association found that almost half of all doctors are so disillusioned with the NHS they're thinking of moving abroad. The General Medical Council also produced a report this week saying they were deeply concerned about morale amongst junior doctors. So what's it like being a young doctor in 2016? What's expected of them? And can they cope with all the pressure? Joining me in the studio to tell me all about it is Junior Doctor, Dr. Kishan Rees. Hi Kish, how are you?
Hello Dr. Phil, very well thank you. Thanks for having me on.
That's very kind of you. You're very polite. Take us back to the very beginning, Kish. Why did you decide you wanted to be a doctor in the first place?
So when I was 14, I became sick in India, and I was treated for a couple of months with what was suspected viral encephalitis.
Okay.
I basically had a reaction to chloroquine, which is a malarial drug, and when the troops take it, it's called Suicide Wednesday when they take that drug. So I was really, really sick. I saw how medicine could make people better. And it made me better, and I thought I wanted to do it. So
did you have any doctors in your family?
No doctors in the family at all. Went through a state education system where they said it's not going to happen, you're not going to get the right GCSEs, therefore you're not going to get the right A-levels, therefore we don't think medical schools will take an interest in you.
But they did. Which medical school took you?
Leicester,
okay.
Which I'm eternally grateful for.
And now you think it's good to say you're eternally grateful because that suggests you don't have any regrets about it.
Not
Whereas
at
the
all.
research suggests that a lot of junior doctors are having regret and they think the NHS is just too tough a place to work in at the moment.
I think a lot of junior doctors probably feel quite upset about what's going on at the moment. It's interesting that you said the letter from the Junior Doctor Alliance saying that 200 consultants have signed this. Back in October 2015, there's thousands of junior doctors marching in London telling people what their concerns were, but it's just a shame that yourself excluded from this, but a lot of the media haven't really been wanting to take it seriously and listen to it. And I think what this dispute has showed is junior doctors have an immense amount of talent, and we should be grateful and thankful that they're in our NHS treating patients.
I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because nobody goes to work in the NHS thinking it's going to be easy. It's always going to be a tough job.
Yeah.
But in a job where traditionally demand exceeds supply, the single and most important thing is the morale of the workforce, encouraging
Absolutely.
and motivating and inspiring and thanking people rather than going to war with them. Let's sort of move on from what's happened with the government and Jeremy Hunt. How are we going to recreate working conditions that junior doctors want to be part of, where they feel part of a team, they feel supported, they know if they're in trouble or make a mistake, they will be supported. How are we going to get that back again? Because if we don't, we're going to lose all these talented people who won't want to work in the NHS, and the NHS itself could collapse.
If we lose that generation, it's a disaster, and the whole thing will collapse. I'm absolutely sure of it. And I think it's the little things. The job that I work in at the moment, there's parking, there's a fridge, people say hello to you, they're friendly. I don't work a rota that absolutely, rags me like a lot of my colleagues do. And I do a lot of live streams and videos and things, and people say, oh, you look tired. And I'm like, it's nothing compared to some of my colleagues that are doing, night, half a day shift and then lots and lots of nights.
Do they have any choice in that? Because a lot of junior doctors said the problem is at the moment is we don't have enough doctors to fill existing rotas, and so extending them to a truly 7-day service, which people don't really understand, but stretching out an already inadequate workforce is going to make it less safe. But if you're a junior doctor working in something
They
like
have no choice.
accident emergency or maternity or paediatrics, and already 3 of your shifts aren't filled because there aren't enough doctors, are you just expected to muck in and cover it, even though it's not safe for you to do so?
I've heard reports of people being locked in rooms with HR managers, FY1 doctors, so first year out of medical school, and they're saying, right, you guys decide among yourselves, you're not leaving until the shift is covered.
Right.
So it's, there is a culture of bullying and intimidation and fear, and I think that's on a layer of, we go into it, we'll give extra hours, we don't clock watch. If we're there an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours after our job, we're more than happy for that and to stay. But then just to squeeze the tiny little bit extra out of the workforce is, when you hear stories like that, we're clearly not looking after. And your first guest, Dan, highlighted how vital medical students are to the whole process because they diagnosed his condition.
Yeah. How do you think things have changed from my day? I've noticed junior doctors.
Maybe you tell me, how do you think they've changed from your day?
Well, it's interesting because in my day, when we campaigned about junior doctors' hours, often we didn't have much support at all from consultants, and they used to say, we had to do it, so should you, it's the only way to learn.
Yeah.
And you look at these lonely, divorced, alcoholic bigots, and you think, well, maybe there are other ways of learning. What I've noticed about this is, although maybe not enough senior doctors have come out. It's pretty
No, I think
certain
we've
that
had a
the
lot.
profession as a whole have
Yeah.
supported you a lot more.
We-
But it seems to me that government has decided this is all the money that's going to the NHS. We can't suddenly pluck junior doctors from trees. So these staff, even if we do train more junior doctors in the future, as Jeremy Hunt has committed to do,
Yeah.
we're not going to suddenly solve the problem. So
No.
what can we do here and now to improve the life and morale of junior doctors and to stop them from leaving?
So I think we've got to start taking an interest in them and actually saying hello to them. You know, when you came in this morning, you said hello to every single person. You knew them by name. I know consultants that don't even know medical students and junior doctors' names, and it's the basics. It's let's get back to basics.
But again, that's an old style thing. Chris Bulstrode, who was quite a famous campaigner years ago, he published it in the BMJ, I think. He went round the John Radcliffe Hospital and he said to all the consultants, I want to know the first name and the second name of your junior staff, and
Yeah.
one thing about them or quality that distinguishes them as a human being, an
They have
outside
no
interest, a
idea.
hobby. They had
They have
absolutely no idea at all.
And a lot of them don't have any idea because I think doctors are seen as interchangeable units that just complete tasks of work. And it's a real danger because what we're going to see is the doctor-patient relationship just getting completely broken down. And like I went in Tesco's the other day and it was all self-service, self-scan, and those are the kind of things that are being touted. Oh, this is the future of medicine. Isn't this great? Isn't this brilliant? Just see a computer and it'll just do it for you. I think the doctor-patient relationship is sacred and should be protected. And just going back to one of your points about 200 consultants and the letter and consultant support, I think we have had consultant support by and large across the board, but there is a small group of influential consultants within the BMA and the senior hierarchy, the council, probably about half the council, that some of them are going on LBC and they won't even disclose voting figures in terms of which way the split was in terms of ratifying strike action. And I just think it's crazy when
It's
you've
not
got
very transparent.
It's not transparent at all. And then the trouble is LBC play it over and over and again, and Ian Dale loved it because he was like, they played on they repeated it every hour. And what we need is an organisation that looks out for patient safety. At the beginning, the BMA said that it was everybody's fight and let's get patients involved. And then now suddenly it's just silence. So I think that BMA have got a big role to play in making junior doctors feel supported.
Okay, the BMA aren't here to defend themselves at
No,
the moment, so let's
no.
go on to what you're doing
Okay.
in your particular life. So you
Okay.
you do medical education, you've
Yeah.
done a special degree in medical
Yeah,
education. Why are you
done a
passionate
master's
about
in
that,
medical
and what do
education.
you do to improve the morale of students and junior doctors through your education?
Okay, so they've all got my contact number. They get kind of 24/7 access to me. I take a real interest in them. We do innovative teaching on WhatsApp. I know them. I remember all my students that I've taught because it's a small group. And I use theories like Sir Dave Brailsford from Team Sky talks about the theory of marginal gains. And we're preparing medical students for an elite performance of finals examinations, and a lot of them need hypercritical feedback in a supportive environment so that they can actually go off and excel. Because let's not forget, they're the brightest talent in the country. They could go off and do anything, and we should be lucky we should feel lucky that we've got them, because they will go on and provide the best healthcare possible. And we really need to recruit and retain this talent, which are leaving in droves.
You're clearly very passionate about this, Kish. I also want to talk about your reflections on the NHS over its 69-year history now, because I know you're making a film about that. We're going to talk about that in a sec. We're going to play a bit of Creedence Clearwater Revival and Proud Mary, and then we'll be back with Dr. Kishan Rees to talk about his film about the history of the NHS, where it's been and where it's heading. Brilliant.